Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Roll up, roll up, roll up, folks. If you're worried about pseudoscience, if you're wondering what that thing in the sky is, you've come to the right place. It's the Skeptic Zone as part of Science Week here in Sydney, New South Wales at the Australian Museum. And it's over to Richard Saunders.
Richard Saunders?
We have to give Stefan Zoiker a bit of a nod every once in a while. You know,
Stefan Zoiker, our co-host who isn't here normally. Yeah. But he co-hosted last week, of course, the live show. Wasn't that fun?
That was great. And thanks to everybody who had things to say about that, and to the people who wrote in about my performance, to you I say.
Exactly right. Maynard and I are here at the little theaterette at the Australian Museum because we're doing the Mystery Investigators as part of Science Week. Before us we have the double trestle table with the water divining thing set up, and here are divining rods ready to go for later in the show.
We did two shows, and there was an interesting show yesterday where we had, I think, Year 12, and we had infants, kids, all in the one audience. That was quite a wide range to work to.
It was. All the younger kids were screaming and yelling out, and all the older kids were quite reserved at the back of the room.
They were trying to look cool until you went up and did some spoon bending, and then they went, whoa.
They went, whoa. That's what they said. They said, whoa. They did. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 356, I think it is, for the whatever it is of August. We're setting up the Mr. Investigator show, so we're a bit scatterbrained at the moment. Coming up on this week's show, Maynard, we're going to be here at the museum interviewing scientists at Science Week.
That's right. I went around the science fair speaking to a whole bunch of people about very different scientific disciplines. I spoke to physicists, botanists, marine biologists, who wasn't Fred Costanza.
And the frog lady?
And the frog lady, Dr. Jodi. We'll be talking to her about what's the big word on frogs in Australia and around the world right now.
What is the big word?
Ribbit.
Ribbit, yeah. Why? I knew that.
Well, yeah, I had to ask that. Look, and of course, the breaking news about Miss Piggy and Kermit breaking up, I mean, that's also big in the frog world as well.
It's big in Pig Weekly too.
It is indeed. And it's amazing because one F word keeps coming up with all the scientists that I've spoken to today, and that word would be funding. Funding is a word that keeps coming up in Australia, and I imagine around the world because of the economic crisis at various places. Funding is a bit harder to get than usual, and a lot of people are going, oh, really? All that time at university, and now you're saying funding?
Fund your local scientists, folks. That's the message. And coming up also on this week's Skeptic Zone, we're going to be chatting to Susan Gerbic from Guerrilla Skepticism.
Now, Susan's someone you don't want to get offside because you won't believe if she doesn't like you don't believe what photo she puts up on your wiki page.
You won't believe that at all, Maynard. So, yes, as we're saying, we're setting up for the Mystery Investigator show. We're going to be looking at optical illusions. We've got a bed of nails. We do water divining. You play the trombone on my back while I'm lying on the bed of nails, which is something to be seen.
That's right. I'm inspired a bit by Penn and Teller there. I thought, look, if you've got to stand on someone's back while they're on a bed of nails, why not play a trombone while you're doing it?
We're going to be having some highlights later in the show about you doing exactly that during the Mystery Investigators.
Highlights, that's a new word for it.
That's a new word for it. So it's Richard Saunders and Maynard here bringing science to school students here at the Australian Museum. We do it as often as we can. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I'm going to run downstairs right now, get into the Godzilla costume, go out into William Street and see if I can scare some money out of some Japanese tourists.
Hey, that's my shtick, isn't it, running downstairs? Well, I'm going to run downstairs.
Yeah, you run down your own stairs.
I'm going to run down my own stairs. I'm going to go down the street and get some more minties for the show.
Always the popularist.
Always the popularist. While we're doing all that, we hope you enjoy
the Skeptic Zone.
Joining me now all the way from Salinas in California, which is not far from San Francisco, but quite close to Monterey. You can look it up on your Google Maps if you want to. And it's somebody, a good friend of the Skeptic Zone, somebody I only saw a couple of weeks ago at the amazing meeting. It's Susan Gerbic. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Richard.
Hello, and it's nice to see you. For the benefit of our listeners, we are Skyping away so I can see your smiling face.
I'm wearing one of my origami earrings. the dinosaur.
So I see. Thank you very much. They suit you very well, I think. All right, now we are catching up with you today because you're going to fill us in on the latest goings-on there with Guerrilla Skepticism. And a bit later on in the interview, we can chat about your upcoming trip to Australia, which is very exciting. You have been concentrating of late on an issue which is close to the heart of the Skeptic Zone. And, of course, Dr. Rowley, close to her heart. And, of course, Joe Alabaster mentions it too. And Heidi Robinson, of course, talks about it too. It's vaccination. Vaccination. Susan, can you tell me, what have you been up to?
Well, starting about March of this last year, 2015, the GSOW project decided it would kind of focus all of our efforts on working on a theme, and we decided that we would pick vaccinations. So we did. We were going to concentrate on it for 6 months. 6 months. It was supposed to go from February to July, but it took us a while to get started. So we started about March, and we just finished off our main focus of vaccinations.
What does that entail? So you're concentrating on vaccinations, which is great. What does that mean in a practical sense, and where can people go and actually see the differences you've made?
Well, that's a really great question. We did not work on the Wikipedia pages that are vaccination medical, like the chemical compound of certain vaccinations or anything like that. What we were focusing on are the people associated around vaccinations and the groups, so that when people are in the news talking about vaccinations and why it's important to vaccinate and so on, we have their backs. So when the media interviews someone, they have more notability, more respectability, because they can look at the Wikipedia page, and that's what the public is going to do, is they're going to look at the Wikipedia page and find out more information about people that. So, for example, Dr. Rowley is one of the people that we had built a Wikipedia page for, so that when she is in the media's eye speaking about vaccinations or whatever she is speaking about, people will Google her. They'll say, who's this person? What is this person's qualifications, and why should I respect her opinion about anything that she does? They'll be able to Google her. More likely, they will get her Wikipedia page, and on that Wikipedia page, they will find quite good citations, a well-written article, photos, maybe some audio of her voice, and they'll be able to find out what her qualifications are. They'll be able to look at what her work is, her body of work. They'll be able to see what her expertise is. And not only Dr. Rowley, but we have worked on many pages of people who are speaking out about the importance of vaccinations, like Mark Crispet, who has the Quackcast podcast. Stephen Novella, we had rewritten his Wikipedia page in English, and we've also translated it into Portuguese and Dutch. And other people like Wendy Sue Swanson, who is better known as the Seattle Mama Doc. And she's an educator and a pediatrician who really advocates that the medical profession should be on social media, trying to help educate and trying to get them on Facebook and blogs and doing things online using social media. That they're trying to. That's what she advocates. So those are some of the people that we've worked on that are in our community. People who are also scientists, like Leon Giroff, who has now passed on. But he was a very important part of the skeptical organization for many years. He was an editor of the science magazine Discover. He's also a co-founder of CSI COP. Brian Deere, who was a Wikipedia page we had to rewrite because it was in horrible shape. You might remember Brian Deere was the person who exposed Andrew Wakefield, and the autism link that he was trying to establish was related to vaccinations. So by beefing up Brian Deere's Wikipedia page, that shows that he's a noteworthy person, he's a respectable person, and we're not making anything up. These are all legitimate citations. But basically what GSOW is trying to say is we've got your back.
That's very good. And you were just mentioning to me before we went on air, actually, that you were responsible, the Guerrilla Skepticism was responsible for the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters Wikipedia entry.
Right. I'm an avid listener to the Skeptic Zone myself. I never miss an episode. Sometimes I do run a little behind, but I always listen to the Skeptic Zone. And you guys have been doing such wonderful work keeping everybody educated about homeopathy and vaccinations. That was part of the reason why we chose vaccinations, because it's so in the news and we could see there was so much going on. But the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters were on the Skeptic Zone so often that I felt like I knew the people. And they were doing such wonderful work. I wanted to see if it was possible to write them a Wikipedia page, because there's a criteria. You can't just write a Wikipedia page for anybody, because anybody would have a Wikipedia page. So there's a level of criteria that they have to meet. And because they were often in the news and being interviewed for different news stations and things like that, I was able to say, I think they're ready to have a page, even though they're brand new. They've just been doing a phenomenal job getting themselves in the media's eye. And one of my editors, James Williams, who lives in the UK, wrote the Wikipedia page for the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters, and we were able to launch it and surprise everybody at the Brisbane Skeptic Camp. That was so exciting because they did not know this page was going to be created. And I believe it was Heidi. Heidi? Was she in the audience?
Heidi, yes.
Yeah, she was in the audience, and somebody was filming her as it popped up on the screen, myself and James Williams, on a remote video that we'd sent him saying, hey, there's this Wikipedia, there's this group in Australia. It's doing this really great job. And we just wrote him a Wikipedia page. And she was just like, her jaw dropped. She was totally shocked. She said, she wrote me an email or a message later. She says, it took about an hour to soak in what actually happened to us. It was pretty fun.
That's so nice that you're able to do that for someone like Heidi and her group, who are so worthy of the attention. Mm-hmm. And the attention, of course, it's very flattering, but it serves a very useful purpose, because people looking up information will find the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters and people like that. But it's not only people on our side of the fence, we might say, that you'd be interested in. Tell me about some of the other people, the counter argument, we might say.
Mm-hmm. And yes, and also because I listened to the Skeptic Zone, I heard a lot about what was going on with this Australian tour by anti-vaxxer Sherry Tenpenny, and us Americans would like to apologize to the Australians, by the way, for sending her to you. But it's important for people to get the information on the opposite side as well. So we updated the Sherry Tenpenny Wikipedia page, which was a very small page, but we were able to update it with her views on anti-vax and her credentials, which are, I believe she's an osteopath, and her schooling. I can't even remember if she had any schooling or not off the top of my head, because it's been many months since I've written that page. But we were able to update it so that people would know who we were talking about, what was going on. So when the media would look at it and say, who is this Sherry Tenpenny person? They'd be able to go, and they had a place to go to besides their own website, and it would have really good information. We also, just because when you're working on one page, it's kind of a lot easier to work on other pages as well. You've already got all the links open. So I wrote a Wikipedia page for Melody's Marvelous Measles, and that's a book that Sherry Tenpenny's friend, Stephanie Messenger, wrote. And it's supposedly for children to embrace the measles, to actually go get the measles from their friends, and it'll make you healthy, and you eat carrots and get lots of sunshine, and you'll be healthy. So I wanted to make sure that book had a great Wikipedia page, and it does. One of the things I learned while writing it is that it was very similar to a book written by a famous author. Roald Dahl had written a book many years ago, and it had a lot of similarities in the title name as the Melody's Marvelous Measles, which was George's Marvelous Medicine.
Yeah.
And another thing that most people didn't know, and I surely didn't know, is that Roald Dahl was a strong advocate of vaccinations because his daughter Olivia died from the measles in 1962, and he wrote about her death and how horrible it was, and how she there was a measles outbreak in his town. He was able to get a hold of a vaccination, pretty much only one, and he gave it to his son, who was much younger. And they thought that the daughter, Olivia, would probably be okay because she was older and robust, and she ended up dying. So it was very sad. He didn't live to see the Melody's Marvelous Measles book, but he had written quite a bit about this kind of thing, and I found it just reprehensible that this woman, Stephanie Messenger, would write a book about embracing the measles, and she made the title sounds so similar to his book. So that was one of the things we wrote. Another another Wikipedia page I wrote was for Stephanie Messenger, who is the author of Melody's Marvelous Measles. The reason why I did that is because I wanted people to be able to understand where she was getting her information, why she was so anti-vax, what was her, from as close as we could find out, what is her mindset? Why is she so rabid about this embracing the measles? And so I think I made that fairly clear on the Wikipedia page. If you look at Stephanie Messenger's Wikipedia page, you'll be, it's kind of eye-opening. And she does live in Brisbane, Australia.
Uh-huh.
And she was the person who was responsible for trying to bring Sherry Tenpenny to on a tour of Australia. So it all comes around, you know.
The Skeptic Zone listeners may well recall there was a big campaign on social media to stop this ridiculous tour going ahead, and we were successful. We actually stopped this ridiculous tour going ahead, which was a great thing for our side and a huge win for the children of Australia, of course. But you've mentioned Brisbane a couple of times now. Let's talk now briefly about the fact that you will be here in Australia, well, not so far away, heading for, of course, the Australian Skeptics National Convention in Brisbane, which is, for the benefit of those people who may not know or remember, it's October the 16th to the 18th, and more information is at convention.brisbaneskeptics.org. Susan, we can't wait to see you. What will you be doing in Australia apart from appearing at the convention?
I will be taking a lot of photographs and doing lots of interviews and I'm there as a skeptic to meet the people of Australia that I haven't already met that have come to the United States. It's my first trip there. I am super excited. I'm going to be flying into Melbourne, and I will be speaking at a couple different places in that area. And I'm sure the dates will probably change a little bit. So if people kind of want to just keep their ears open, but I'm going to be in Ballarat, which I'm really excited to go to because I remember that Ballarat from a Sherlock Holmes story that I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan.
Really?
So, yeah, there was a story with somebody who came from Ballarat.
Okay.
It was a part of the plot, actually. It was part of the way they solved the mystery was Ballarat. I won't give any more. And another town I'm going to be speaking in, and I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce it. It's near Melbourne. Yeah. It's called Mordialloc. Mordialloc.
Mordialloc.
Oh my gosh!
Mordialloc.
You guys are going to be laughing at me the whole time.
We are. But it's delightful. Mordialloc Skeptics, of course, they do a wonderful job down there. I've had the pleasure of going down to speak to the Mordialloc Skeptics from time to time. You'll enjoy yourself immensely. Ballarat, very famous city, of course, very historical city in Australia. Looks like you're going to be visiting quite a few places.
Yeah, Canberra.
Yep.
I'm also going to Melbourne. I'm going to Sydney.
Yes.
And I'm supposedly going to be going to Tasmania to go over to see the skeptics down there in some place that starts with an L that I know I would just totally embarrass myself by trying to say.
Launceston.
Oh my goodness, this is going to be horrible. Where I'm from, everybody speaks Spanish. So Australian and English and Spanish are nothing alike. So, pardon me. I do want to remind everybody that before the Skeptic conference, there is going to be a Skeptic camp in Brisbane. And that is going to be, I believe, the 100th Skeptic camp. And I'm super excited to be at that Skeptic camp. And I want to be able to take photos and be able to put the information that I learned up on the Wikipedia page for Skeptic camp. And then I'm heading over to Hong Kong, and I'm going to be hosted by the Hong Kong Skeptics.
Wow.
And excited to be talking to them. I have 2 lectures there, and I'm going into China, and I'll be talking to I believe a school, but not about Wikipedia. I'm going to be talking about my using science and science-based medicine when I had gone through all my cancer treatments. So that should be very interesting, and a talk I've never done before. So I have a lot of work to do to start concentrating on that. So if you're in the Hong Kong area, I will be there for a couple of days. This is all happening October 1st through October 25th.
You're going to be very busy. Now, listeners can keep tuned into the Skeptic Zone as the finer details of your tour come to light. We'll let our listeners know where they can see you around Australia, especially in Victoria, it seems to me. And also not forgetting, of course, your appearance at the National Convention, the Australian Skeptics National Convention. We're going to be chatting more about the National Convention in the coming weeks, of course. So lots of opportunities to meet you, Susan, coming up, and more importantly, maybe hear you talk about guerrilla skepticism and what you're doing. Well, Susan Gerbic, thank you for sparing some time for the Skeptic Zone yet again. It's lovely to see you on Skype, but it's more lovely to see you in person.
Thank you so much, Richard.
And good luck with your endeavors. And where can people go to learn more about guerrilla skepticism?
You can write to us at the gsowteam@gmail.com. But we ask people to go to our YouTube channel first and listen to the interviews from our editors, who will tell you in their own words about what training is like, what to expect, how passionate they are about this project, and so on. We really want people to come to our project with some background of what to expect, and then probably write to us at gsowteam@gmail.com.
Okay, and I'll add a link to your YouTube channel in the show notes for this episode. So once again, Susan Gerbic, great to see you, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of months.
Thank you, Richard. I am really looking forward to seeing all of you as well.
On maynard.com.au. It's time for Tim Ferguson's Right of Reply.
Don't expect too much.
You know those people who are wearing the V for Vendetta masks?
Anonymous?
Anonymous. They call themselves Anonymous, which really should be calling themselves... But they had to actually put a label to it. Look, anonymous people, this is great. And good on you for carrying on like a pack of 14-year-olds in your bedroom who are having a little tantrum about the things you don't like. Good on you for hacking. Good on you for downloading. Good on you for doing all the things that decent people regard as, mildly annoying and naughty. The fact is, if you are going to stand up, if you are going to protest, put your own personal name on it. Otherwise, shut up, because nobody needs to worry about something called anonymous. It's not like you're ISIS walking around in a whole bunch of black masks. You're just a bunch of dweebs banding together, hoping that wearing a V for Vendetta mask is somehow threatening anybody. A protester puts their name on it. Otherwise, they go back inside and do their homework.
That's Tim Ferguson's Right of Reply, letting you know what's what for.
That said, I think Natalie Portman's just wonderful.
Don't expect too much.
Welcome to A Week in Science from RiAus, bringing you the science you need to know. Humans might be smart, have opposable thumbs, and be able to talk, but we've got nothing on the animal kingdom. Let's wander into the world of weird and wacky wildlife. The great expanses of the Australian desert are dry and barren. Makes me thirsty just thinking about it. But for the thorny devil, a refreshing beverage is just a step away. Thorny devils can drink through their feet. Capillary action works to draw water along their skin to grooves on either side of their mouth. 2. Another spiky animal. Or is it? The Australian giant cuttlefish is nature's shapeshifter. Not only do they change their colour and texture, but small male cuttlefish will outwit their larger competitors by drawing in their tentacles to appear feminine and get up close and personal with their lady loves, right under the big guys' noses. Well, they're cuttlefish, so from right under the big guys' chromatophores. And the award for the ickiest self-healing ability has to go to the green tree frog. When they get debris lodged in their skin, their bladder sends out a sort of finger to enclose the object, draw it back into their bladder, and then they just pee it out. We know about this freaky feature through a combination of science and luck. Researchers were finding the transmitters they had surgically implanted on the rainforest floor. Wanting to find out more, and thinking there may be a problem with the surgery process, they took the project back to the lab and before long discovered the bizarre bladders. And if you haven't noticed, all of these amazing animals call Australia home. And now, 4 fast facts about researching wild animals. Population studies of nocturnal or shy animals can prove difficult, so instead, researchers can simply keep track of animal poo. Animal poo, or scat as it's known in the scientific community, can also be used to sample DNA and diets. Camera traps have revolutionised wild animal research. These durable, motion-activated cameras can give vital data about animal populations and behaviour. But sometimes the animals aren't so happy to see them, clawing, biting, or otherwise destroying the cameras. That's it for this week in science. For more information on animal superpowers, go to the RiAus website, riaus.org.au. Follow us on Twitter at RiAus and like us on Facebook. I'm Casey Harrigan, and we'll catch you next week.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
We're here at Science Week and we're in the main big room where everyone's got their own little panel spruiking all areas of science. We've got everybody from companies like 3M to government organisations to carbon emission people to robot people. Not people that are robots, people talking about robotics. I think they are. Well, they could be robot people. I don't know. But let's go have a talk to people in the big room. Well, it's Science Week here at the Australian Museum and lots of things are going on here. There's lots of kids looking at things, poking and looking around. And who have we got here?
So I'm Aaron. I'm from Sydney Sea Life Aquarium.
Yeah. Now, what are you showing people? You've got a few things here. You've got a bit of dried coral and you've got a reptile over there. What have you been wowing them with here?
So we have lots of different things on the sea life side. We've got ourselves lots of different corals. We've also got 3 different types of shark eggs.
Wow.
So yes, we have plenty of shark eggs to show around. We've also got a lovely, great big blue-tongue lizard here.
They are great to have in your backyard. They're fantastic. They eat snails, and what else do they eat?
They go food. They're a big fan of dog food, actually.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you leave your dog food out, and what type? But they're not active at night, are they? Because that's when the reptile are cold.
Yeah, absolutely. So these guys, you'll find them sometimes at night after a long, hot day. They'll be sitting out on the concrete or the asphalt trying to soak up the rest of that energy that's been left around.
So if you've got a pool, they might hang around the pool area where the rocks are.
Absolutely. Sometimes you might even find them just dipping themselves in a shallow bit of that water just to get that skin off if they are shedding.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people freak out when they see them because at first you might think they're a snake just briefly, couldn't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They've got such short legs and they've got a great big head that resembles that of a python.
They got any teeth at all?
Yeah, actually they have some nice big sharp teeth in the back of their mouth, which helps them crush those snails. Okay. But to actually make sure you are looking at a lizard and not a snake, these guys have these nice big holes on the side of their head, which are their ears. Snakes don't have external ears.
And what's your blue tongue's name?
Timmy.
And you've got a light to keep him warm so he thinks it's the sun.
get some nice and some warmth. Obviously, these guys don't produce their own heat, so we need to be able to help them, keep them nice and warm. That's why, obviously, out in the wild, they'll sit out on the road, keep nice and warm that way, or on some nice hot rocks.
Yep. They're solar-powered animals, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much that's how it works.
Okay. Now, how have the kids been reacting here? How have they been going with the shark eggs?
They're actually huge fans of those. A lot of kids don't realise that some sharks actually do, in fact, lay eggs. And so it's a whole new experience for some people, which is fantastic to see. It's also nice and fun to get them throwing their hands in the water and getting a bit wet, in the middle of the day. It's a good experience for them.
Cool. Oh, look, whenever I see a Van de Graaff generator, I think of the band of the same name, but I've got to say the actual Van de Graaff generator is more interesting than the band of the same name. What are you doing here with a bit of static electricity? Oh, what's your name too?
Laura. My name's Laura.
And you're here from?
UNSW Physics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you teaching us here?
So we're teaching a little bit of static electricity. So same kind of thing when you rub a balloon on your head and your hair sticks to the balloon and to your hand and stuff like that. Same kind of thing is happening here. We're dumping a heck of a lot of charge on the top of the Van de Graaff generator there. The thing is that charge doesn't really like to be next to other charge, so it's going to try and get away as best it can, either through the string here and up into my hand, or if I can get a little spark happening.
Woo.
Hey,
and of course with static electricity, the voltage is incredibly high, but the amperage is really low.
Yeah, so you get a little bit of a shock. It's not pleasant, but yeah, it doesn't really harm you that badly.
So what's it like having a gig where you get shocked a couple of different times a day with static electricity? It's bad enough walking on carpet.
It's not too bad. You get used to it. I'm mostly okay with getting shocked now.
And what are the kids really getting into here on the physics table? Has anybody has the word quantum been mentioned yet?
We're not quite getting into the quantum stage. Maybe next week with the high school kids.
Okay,
They're loving the Van de Graaff. They're loving. We've got some cool polarizers over there as well. Where you
polarizer? What? Some people like it, some people don't.
Oh well, yeah, that too.
That sounds great. Yeah. It's a great table you've got happening here. Do you reckon you've inspired some kids to actually go into science or interested in a bit more? Because physics always threw me, because to me physics is just really hard maths. And so as soon as I came up against that, it was like in chemistry, valency levels, forget that. I lost all interest in chemistry when I couldn't understand valency levels, and my maths weren't good enough to do physics. So how do you overcome that?
I think you just have to show them that science is actually everywhere in your everyday life. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be dry. I think a lot of people find science to be really boring. I think it's just amazing that anytime I walk down the street, I can see hundreds of different little physics experiments happening. You just have to look around.
And Newton's laws of motion you can just see in most car accidents.
Exactly, yes.
And what is the area that fascinates you with future discoveries or an area? I believe you're personally working on a grand united theory of everything, aren't you?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. No. Well, I guess because I've been talking with my students lately, because I teach physics at a tutoring place. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with superconductivity.
Okay.
If we can get room temperature superconductivity, I think that'll be really, really interesting.
Did they keep just saying 5 years away? Is that what they keep saying? 5 years away?
I don't know. I think
batteries 5 years away.
I think there is a running joke with fusion reactions at the moment that it's always 30 years away. Right. Always. So I don't know if that's going to happen.
Do you think they'll get the fusion reaction with chemical lasers or optical lasers?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I will go home and work on that right now.
Okay.
Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Well, we're here, and frogs are not on the menu. Do we naturally eat frogs in Australia? Oh, well, explain who you are and why you're going to speak about frogs.
I'm Dr. Jodi Rowley from the Australian Museum, and I'm an amphibian expert, so that covers the world of frogs.
Now, did the Indigenous population get into our frogs much here, or were our frogs not edible?
I'm not sure. Our frogs are certainly edible. Most frogs are edible. Toads are the things that you have to worry a little about, but there are people around the world that do eat or use toads as traditional medicine. One, go, woohoo. Yeah, so they are used as traditional medicine, but they can also kill you sometimes accidentally. So there are cases of people. Is that
normally based on colour? Like some animals, a colour is a warning colour because it will kill you. Is that the go with frogs or not?
It is the go with frogs, but not all of the frogs with the venom, or the poison glands are actually brightly coloured. So the cane toad, for example, has some pretty bad toxins in the glands above its ears, and they're a pretty boring brown. So they don't warn you with their colour like some frogs and toads do.
Do you get sick of people asking you about the cane toad? Because that's the hot go-to issue with frogs, isn't it, really?
No, in Australia, the cane toad is a real big problem, we definitely should be asking about it. One of the questions I get most commonly is what is the difference between a frog and a toad? And actually, the answer is not much. There's 55 different families of frogs and toads, and toads are just one of the 55 different families. So we don't have any native toads, which is the problem.
So it's a European thing about the difference?
Well, the name toad and frog, I think, originally came from Europe when they really only had like a couple of frogs and a couple of toads, and they look pretty distinct. But then when you start going to Central America, different parts of the world, you get frogs that look like toads, toads that look like frogs, and it's really hard to figure out.
Now, what's the most exciting part of the world frog-wise? You've been to Asia. Of course, South America has very colourful frogs. What's the area that gets frog people excited?
For appearances, it's Central and South America. That's where you get the amazing colours, the little dendrobated frogs that have incredible diversity of colours. And there's some places where different islands, just very small islands along the coast, have a different coloured version of that frog.
Is that to fit in with they evolved to fit in with the plant life? Is that why?
No, these are warning colours. So I guess it's a little bit warning, and maybe it's a little bit attracting the opposite sex, that they mix up the colours, and sometimes they're green, sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're red. It's pretty spectacular. But Southeast Asian and Australian frogs, while often not as colourful, have some really amazing behaviours and adaptations that make them just as fascinating from a biological standpoint.
Look, Jodi, one of the things you told me about frogs that really excited me is that there are warning-coloured frogs in South America, but there's other frogs that have evolved that aren't that kind of frog, and they've evolved to learn that if you have that colour, the birds don't eat you, so you actually aren't poisonous, but you look like you are.
Yeah, so copying is in the animal world as well, and sometimes it works out if they can just mimic the one that's poisonous and hope that all the predators don't cotton on and go, oh, you're the one that made me feel sick, and don't eat them when they're actually not poisonous at all.
Now, do frogs operate in a mean way like the cuckoo bird does, like it lays its eggs in other birds' nests and then takes over their nests? Do other frogs do nasty, demeaning behaviour like that?
Not that we're aware of, but we still have so much to learn about frogs and their reproductive behaviour. As creepy as that sounds, there's a lot to be observed with frog reproductive behaviour. So only last year we found the first frog that actually gives birth to tadpoles instead of eggs. So picking up these things from Indonesia, you would see their bellies sort of wiggling with things inside them, and we realised they're actually full of tadpoles. So there's all these crazy things, and we don't know how they get in there because frogs usually have external fertilisation. So how do the tadpoles get inside the frog? And they're in the oviducts. So like really crazy stuff. There's some frogs that transport tadpoles on their backs to different ponds. Some frogs are really awesome parents. Some frogs that build nests for them on the forest floor. Like until maybe 5 years ago, I'd never heard of a frog that built nests. That's a bird thing.
Well, and also it sounds like that's a great place to get eaten, on the floor of a florist, yeah.
There's a lot less fish and invertebrate predators there. So if you make your own little hole, you don't get giant fish eating your tadpoles, especially if you stick around and defend those little nests like the males do, then they actually they do some serious parental care.
Hang on, defend their nests? What's the frog going to give you? Give you a nasty gum? What do they do?
The frogs I'm talking about are actually fanged frogs. So the males have tiny little, they're not actually teeth, but little bone projections on their bottom jaw, and they actually give you a little nip. I've never been bitten, and I don't know if they would try a human, but if it was, another frog coming along or a snake, they might give it a go.
Okay. Now, with Science Week, what do you think's the big challenge of science in Australia at the moment?
That's a really tough question. Funding and obviously the public appreciation of science is, understanding of how important it is, how vital it is, and how exciting it is. So I think we need to do a lot better job as scientists to communicate what we do, why it's important, and why it's exciting, to get people a little bit more passionate about it, and as passionate as we are, I guess.
What about the encroachment of pseudoscience? Does that worry you at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially with the internet, social media, the inability to see what's real information versus made-up stuff, it is a little bit tricky. So I do think that is a problem.
And where can people go and find out more about what you get up to?
Check out the Australian Museum website, and if you look for frogs on there, you'll find something about me.
Thank you, Dr. Jodi.
Thank you very much.
Now, I wander along here and I'm seeing some, what looks like some Lego robots doing something quite complicated. Who have we got here and what are you doing?
So this is a table we're showing off First Lego League. We're a group from Aquarium University and First Australia. First is the organisation that runs First Lego League. So this is using Lego Mindstorm's robots and kids build the robots, program them, and have them achieve series of tasks autonomously.
So the LEGO Mindstorm actually runs off a Linux-based operating system. It is its own custom LEGO operating system, so there's no like kind of normal Windows operating system or anything like that. It's kind of at a hardware level it runs at.
And how hard or easy is it to code for?
Look, there's two main ways you can program this. You can code in the typical style, which is like a Word or language-based programming language, and you can also use a graphical language called the EV3 software suite. Okay. For the young years, we recommend that because it's more of a graphical thing, and it's easier to help you along the lines of the visual sort of context of what programming is about. So the while loops, the moving motors, all sensories are based on colour, so it's very easy for young minds to get around that.
Yeah, I'm just looking here, and you've got green and red and black stripes on a large table. And what is the device the robot being taught to do and asked to do?
Yeah, so in this case, we're running sort of two main programs. The first one is that you can see here. Unfortunately, the audience on the other side can't see this, but we have a door here. Yeah. And the robot is actually programmed to open this door and navigate to what we call a search in over there, which is just pushing a little bar. And those colours you see, they've got the three colours there, red, yellow, blue. It's going to spin that around. And from that, we can figure out which of those colours we need to retrieve from the holes underneath. So that's the first sort of challenge this robot does. It uses the red and black lines on the table here to help it navigate around the table, as well as using the touch sensors on the walls. Okay. So it's a very useful use of sensors.
And you've seen the kids light up when they see the whole thing. Do you think many of them will make the leap to actually doing something with it, or they find it a bit daunting?
It can be very daunting for a lot of the younger ages at first. I mean, there are a lot of complicated sort of challenges on the field here. What we try and recommend is you look for the easiest ones, because if you start from a simple basis, you can always make things more complicated on a simple stance. And really, if you're looking to make a reliable, complex system, what you're really looking for is add a lot of simple things together to make something complicated, but still relying on those sort of simple processes.
Okay, and I guess most kids want the robots to fight.
Yeah, that seems to be a very common trend.
Fight. And will they do that, or is that discouraged?
Well, on this sort of competition, it's not... they don't have any interaction between other robots, but we do have other two tiers called FDC and FRC. Those two, they don't use LEGO. They're actually a step up. So they have interaction. So in FDC, you have 4 robots on a field at one time instead of the one. Yeah. You have 2 modes. You have autonomous, and you've got something called teleop. So at this level, at our FLL, you really only have the autonomous sort of programs where you hit it once and it goes, and if it doesn't get back to base, oops.
Ooh, okay.
But with FDC, you get to a period where you can actually control it using a joystick.
And if people want to find out more about the processing and the league you're in here, where can people find this online and about you guys?
Yep, so my name is Griff. I'm from First Australia. Our website is firstaustralia.org. You can find the programs that we do here in Australia online. That's Junior FLL, FLL, FTC, and FRC. You can find more about the international program at usfirst.org or usfirst.org. And we have all of our programs up there online.
Cool. And get onto YouTube and have a look at the Big Dog and the Mule programs.
Yeah, they're very impressive pieces of kit.
Well, Maynard, here we are. The school kids are coming in now for the next Mystery Investigator show. The first performance went very well.
This is going to be an interesting show because we've got infant school kids and we've got private school senior kids together. So, they could start a fight. I don't know who's going to win.
It's a big mixture, but time for us to perform.
Ooh. And the private school kids look like they're extras from Picnic at Hanging Rock, don't they?
They do. They've got the classic hat and the uniform happening.
Yep. Hats. It's important to education. Hats.
Okay, everybody's finding their seats, that's great. There must have been his mum on the phone now. Excellent, well, thank you everybody for coming on here. Let's see, what time is it? Good morning, everybody. Close enough. Welcome to the Mystery Investigator Show. We're going to be exploring the strange and the unusual, and we're going to be looking at how you all can be tricked and fooled, and how science can sort of help you in that. Can help you get tricked and fooled, but it can also help you prevent it. Who are we? We are Mystery Investigators. My name is Richard Saunders, and over there is my friend Maynard.
That's the light that I invented just this afternoon.
You invented that light?
That's right.
The show went very well, and we did lots of things like water divining, and we talked about optical illusions. And then came the bed of nails, which we pulled out. I lay down, and then, hear the rest.
All right. So you can lie down on bed of nails as long as you're extremely careful. Here we go. So I can't pull my weight on. I just have to.
And of course, when you're lying on the bed of nails, one thing you must never do is have anyone stand on top of you. Is he all right?
Now we have some news and events from around the world. Christchurch in New Zealand, the beautiful city of Christchurch in New Zealand, will be hosting this year's New Zealand Skeptics Conference. Now that's on from November the 20th to the 22nd, and it's an event not to be missed if you're in New Zealand, or if you want to, cross the ditch from Australia. For more information, just head to conference.skeptics.nz. That's the New Zealand Skeptics Conference for 2015 in Christchurch from the 20th to the 22nd of November. I'm delighted to say that the Discovery Centre in Bendigo reached their funding goal and can carry on for the moment, and they want you to know that they have an interesting event coming up. To celebrate Science Week, they are holding an adults-only evening on the 21st of August. Now, this includes Ashley Burnett's show, Appearance versus Reality, and a dinner. Details can be found at www.discovery.asn.au and just click the events link. And don't forget, for our friends in Canberra, in the Australian Capital Territory, there's a free screening of An Honest Liar on Sunday the 23rd of August at King O'Malley's Irish Pub. Also on that weekend, on the 21st, there's the Canberra Psychic Expo. Ooh, I guess it's their version of Mind, Body, Wallet. For more information, head to meetup.com and look for Social Skeptics Canberra, one word. Wow, that was a big show, Maynard. Thank you for being part of the Mystery Investigators.
And thank you, everybody, at Science Week, all the scientists that spoke to me, all the people that spoke to me, all the kids that spoke to me and chucked stuff at me in the street. And thank you to the Japanese tourists that were very generous when I was out there in the Godzilla costume. It's amazing. It really resonates with the culture.
It really does. We have to pack up now. We have to get these divining rods. And look, I've still got some spoons left over, which I haven't broken yet.
Well, yeah,
we have to pack up the show and then hopefully do it again soon. It's for those people who are interested. We do it in Sydney. It's Mystery Investigators, and you can find that at mysteryinvestigators.com.
Yeah, because we have to have some fun doing some science educating. And also, have we broken the news to the people that we're going to be at the Skeptics Conference?
Oh, we have indeed, yes. The Australian Skeptics National Convention, the 16th, 17th and 18th, I think. We can check that, of October in Brisbane. You and I will be there. Joe Alabaster will be there. Heidi will be there. Lots of people from the Skeptic Zone around, Segev. And look out. That should be a lot of fun.
And the main reason I'm travelling across straight lines to go to Brisbane for the Skeptic Conference is I really want to have a bourbon, or perhaps he's a Scotch drinker, with Joe Nichols.
I'm sure you will. And it's a big thank you again to Skeptic Zone listeners. Your small weekly contributions to the Skeptic Zone via PayPal actually mean we can fund Maynard's trip to visit the conference.
And I'll be paying for the drinks myself. None of your money will be going on that sort of frivolous behaviour. Yeah. But look, to borrow a line from some of the podcasts that I listen to, if you don't contribute to a podcast in even a small way, you can't automatically expect it to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's true. We do our best. And again, it's thank you to listeners who do contribute that the show keeps going. We can buy equipment for our reporters. And as I say, we can do things like fly you up to Brisbane to be part of the convention and interview listeners.
And as a side effect, it does make you feel slightly morally superior to other people who don't contribute.
There is always that, Maynard.
I wouldn't know what morally superior feels like.
Thanks for being here, Maynard, and thank you, everybody. But for now, this is Richard Saunders and Maynard signing off from the Australian Museum here in Sydney. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.